The recent T-bill auction just ended, and just when everybody was happy and excited to receive their results, then they become disappointed because the amount of T-bill that you actually invested and the yield may not be up to your expectations. And for example, like myself, I invested $5,000 in the recent exercise, but I got returned $2,000 on the principal and getting back close to $60 for the interest alone. So net invested amount is only $3,000 out of the $5,000. And that was a non-competitive bid, by the way. So I guess there's always a first time for everything. It's the first time that you didn't get fully allocated or fully allotted for your non-competitive T-bill. And pretty much the main reason was because the non-competitive bids have already exceeded the 40% threshold, and that means that above 40% of non-competitive bids, not every user will get allocated 100% for their T-bill allotment. Also, the other thing is that when you expected the interest rates to continue rising month over month, like for example, my previous month was 4.19% per annum for the T-bills, but the recent yield was only 4% flat. Like, it's a month-on-month downtrend. So there's always a first for everything. If this is the first time that you applied for T-bills, then you may be a little bit surprised because interest rates have fallen for T-bills, and at the same time, you didn't get your 100% allotment for the auction. In today's episode, let's explore what are the reasons that led to this trend, right? Because we always expected interest rates to increase in the coming economy, and especially when the Fed has already promised an increase in interest rates, especially when inflation is still not going down yet, right? Fed is still hawkish on their inflation and interest rate exercises. But you see, the main principle of T-bills or treasury bills for SGS is that it is an auction, right? There is a bid and ask exercise. So the discounted price of the T-bill is always based on the demand and supply, and this time demand just happened to outstrip supply by a very large margin. And you will never know, right? Because it is an auction, and that means before you even apply for the T-bills, you will not know of the yield of this T-bill yet. Unlike SSB. For SSBs, they have to publish the rates, right? For example, currently the SSB is yielding around 3.47%. So that was already known to you, but you do not know what was the T-bill yield before you applied for the recent one. And for a simple reason, the demand outstrip supply is that people had more awareness of what T-bills really are. People are having more confidence and seeing how others have done it. There is a fear of missing out mindset, right? Like, my friend is doing it, my colleague is doing it, and they are already getting like 4%, 4.19% in fact, for the recent exercise. And some of you have even watched my previous T-bill exercise where I applied for 10k and got 10k at 4.19%. Now, I guess the recent T-bill exercise was so popular that MAS even had to work overtime beyond their normal working hours, because the usual T-bill results will be released by 5 to 6 p.m. But this time, they did work overtime and the results were only released by 8 p.m. So you see, during that November 10th, everyone was waiting for the results, right? And people were asking, when is the results out? But if you're too busy to keep up with the news, then I do publish all these recent SSB or T-bill results in my Telegram group, which you can join over here for free, right? And also other credit card hacks as well. Also, don't forget that your traditional mainstream media have been publishing about T-bills exercises because they gain so much viewership, right? Like last month, they talk about this 4.19% per annum T-bill. And I guess it gained a lot of popularity and more people knew about it, more people are attracted to the high yields. And also the fact that you can use your CPF OA to invest in T-bills. In fact, you can push from 2.5% in your OA, upgrade it to 4% in the T-bill based on the current rates. So I guess many people took the opportunity because instead of transferring your OA to SA, which is a one-way street, and it's a very long-term thing, it's illiquid, people just intend to at least invest their OA in the T-bill so that they can get the 4% as well. But you must remember that this 4% is only for 6 months. It's not even up to 1 year. And maybe some of you may think that 4% is not a lot, because even if you take 4% on a $10,000, that is only like $400. But what if I told you you can get $150 of cash voucher for free? I am very jealous of you all. Jealous of those people who have not signed up for Weibo account, because Weibo just launched a record high promotion getting you $150 US worth of cash voucher. And since many of you still have questions on the qualifying criteria, let's go through some of them. First deposit, you must have a $2,000 first deposit. Now, even if you have used that $2,000 to buy some stocks and the stocks has fallen to less than $2,000, that's fine as long as you have not made any cash withdrawals. Next, you need to buy one US stock or ETF worth at least $100 US. And you can choose any stock, right? I mean, you can choose Apple. Apple is at around 130, 140 levels, way above $100, so you'll be safe. The third criteria is you have to make one option trade. So you can just look at Apple options. You can buy a $70 put expiring this Friday at like 1 cent. So 100 units of it will be $1. And lastly, you have to hold your deposit for at least 30 days until your cash voucher reward is credited. And that's how you can use the referral link down below or scan the QR code right here to sign up for your Webull account today. Alright, so coming back to this CPF thing, right, I guess a lot of people are more aware of how to use their OA and upgrade it to become a 4% yielding T-bill. And that has actually spurred a lot of interest, a lot of demand. People were queuing at the banks, despite me saying that you have to waste a lot of time to queue at the banks because a lot of people are thinking like you. There is a herd mentality. People are just putting their OAs into T-bills, filling up physical forms, and the banks don't even get much profit out of it. And you know, this whole recent T-bill exercise just reminded me of my HDB BTO exercise, where people just submit their bids for the BTO and just hope to get a queue number, but most likely the demand will outstrip supply. It's always oversubscribed. And it happened this time. And that's because based on the current T-bill rule, non-competitive bids that exceeded 40% of the overall issuance size, they will be allotted to investors on a prorated basis. And that is no longer 100% allotment, which was what happened to me. But I've heard stories of people applying for $2,000 or $1,000, not even getting anything. So I guess 3,000 out of 500 is pretty good already. And some of you have asked what's the difference between non-competitive bid and competitive bid for T-bills, right? I think to put it simply, non-competitive bid means like you are a price taker, like you are making a market order. Now, if you have invested in crypto or stocks before, you surely would know the difference between market order and limit order, right? Market order means like you just take what the existing price is, okay? You cannot set your own price, and because you're taking whatever the price the market is giving you, most likely you have a higher chance, a higher possibility of getting what you want, albeit at a not so competitive rate. And that is what a non-competitive bid is. You just take whatever the yield is, and this time round is at 4%. I think 4% is not too bad, right? It's comparable to the special account, just that it's non-compounding. And then at the opposite end, we have a competitive bid. That means that you only want to accept like this amount of yield or return. For example, you are a price maker and you are setting a limit order. So anything below 4%, you will not accept it. Okay, I will only accept a T-bill at above 4%. So you just put in 4%. If it's 4%, you get it. If it's below 4%, you will not get it. And I guess 4% is a very good benchmark, right? Because if we look at the current savings account, current account, even the OCBC 360 account is giving you 4.05% per annum, right? If you just make a salary credit and maintain your savings rate by increasing above $500 per month. So I guess 4% is the minimum that we could accept. And to put it in a more specific example, using the recent T-bill exercise, if you actually bidded 3.9% at a competitive bid, you will just get the 4% because that was the cut-off yield. If you bidded below the cut-off yield, you will get the cut-off yield. And if you bidded 4.1%, which is higher than the cut-off yield, you will not get anything because your 4.1% at a competitive bid is already higher than the cut-off yield. So they are not able to give you that. Maybe for my next T-bill exercise, I may want to put a competitive bid at 4% because that's the minimum that I can accept. Otherwise, I will just put it into OCBC 360, right? 4.05%. So I guess this recent T-bill auction made me learn a few lessons and I want to share them as well. But before that, you realize that the stock market and equities market have been rising to the moon over the past few days, right? And that was because inflation rate has slowed down to 7.7%. I mean, 7.7% is still a very high inflationary number, don't get me wrong, but it may signify that inflation is actually controlled. compared to the 8% that we were experiencing in the past few months. So it may be a foresight that the Fed may be pivoting soon by slowing down their interest rate hikes or even stopping their interest rate hikes. Who knows, right? I don't have a crystal ball. So you see the expectation of interest rates rising may be coming to an end. Maybe only, don't take my words for it, because I cannot really predict the market. And you see, if interest rates slow down, that will also have an impact on your T-bill and SSB as well. So you see, we have already experienced the first month-on-month drop based on demand and supply. Now, if the interest rates continue to be in a favorable position, which means that it will not increase, then I guess most likely the 4.19% may have been the peak of T-bill. Who really knows? Now, don't forget that we also have the Singapore Savings Bond issued at 3.47% in the current month, and people are also very attracted to this, right? Because they see that, hey, this time T-bill I also didn't get full allotment and interest have already decreased. What if my SSB next month also decrease? Then I also need to put more money in SSB this time round. So I will not be surprised if this time SSB this time is actually oversubscribed as well. And you may see that you are getting less than 10k allotment. So we shall see. That's what I think. Because people now know that the interest rate will not go up forever. One day it has to pivot to the other side one. Also, the thing about the next T-bill exercise, which will happen 1 week from now. Now, people already have their refunds from the previous T-bill exercise, and they know that, okay, this time T-bill is even more competitive, even more supply. So there's a scarcity mindset, right? Like, I didn't get the last round. This round, I must put in even more money because the last round only 50% is allotted. This time, I may want to put even more capital inside so that I can get a higher amount even if I didn't get my full allotment. So this may happen, and the T-bill is most likely going to be oversubscribed again. So yes, this is just my few predictions for the upcoming SSB and T-bill exercise, and maybe ask you a question. How much did you apply for the recent T-bill and how much did you get allotted? And if you want to compare the difference between SSB versus T-bill, then refer to my previous video right here, because I talk about some of the differences that you can consider when you are planning to put your money into either of them.